Welcome to the exhibition Ceramics and Cultural Currency Exchanges of Pottery and Prestige, a permanent exhibition at the fourth floor galleries of the Ayala Museum. I am Tenten Mina, Associate Curator, and co-curator of the exhibition, together with Senior Curator Kenneth Esguerra. Featuring a selection of more than 100 objects from the Roberto T. Villanueva Collection, this exhibition asks how and why tradeware ceramics from mainland Asia are found in abundance throughout the Philippine archipelago. The Villanueva Collection, which has been on long-term loan to Ayala Museum since 2007, is arguably one of the most comprehensive collections of tradeware ceramics found in the Philippines. The late Roberto T. Villanueva Sr. took pride that the collection could be considered as part of our cultural heritage, shedding light on our commercial and cultural ties with China and Southeast Asia during our pre-colonial past. Although written local accounts predating the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in 1521 are near to non-existent, scholars often rely on written records from neighboring cultures and archaeological evidence to piece together information on the people inhabiting the archipelago prior to Spanish colonization. Analysis of earthenware pottery and boat-building techniques indicate shared technologies in the region dating as early as 400 BC. Chinese and European literary sources reveal that early Filipinos were active seafaring traders with relationships with China, Champa, Funan, Malacca, and Timor, to name a few. The wide distribution of trade ceramics throughout the archipelago also illustrates the networks of interconnections between coastal and inland communities. As Miguel de Loarca writes in his 1582 description of Panay Island, "Those of the mountains cannot live without the fish and salt and other things, and jars and plates which come from other parts, nor can those on the coast live without the rice and cotton which the mountaineers have." But what are ceramics and why are they valuable? To answer these questions, we look at the physical properties of these objects as well as their social functions. Ceramics comes from the Greek word keramikos, which means of potter's earth or clay. Despite coming from the humblest material, they comprise one of the most durable man-made artifacts found in the archaeological record. Some examples date as early as 10,000 years ago. The production of ceramics also reflects a community's sophisticated understanding of resources and technological processes, as well as adept physical skills. From archaeological examples, we know that earthenware pottery was widely used in ritual practices and as funerary goods in the Philippines prior to the Spanish colonial era. The importation of tradeware did not stop local production of pottery, however. Archaeological sites dated between the 10th to the 16th centuries show local pottery in conjunction with imported high-fired ceramic goods from mainland Asia. 19th century paintings also show how Filipinos continued to utilize both local and imported ceramics well into the second millennium of the Common Era. Chinese potters produced glazed and high-fired earthenware as early as 200 BC, but the kiln technology with 1,200 degrees Celsius heat was only perfected at the end of the 9th century in Zhejiang province. Mass-produced for local and foreign consumption, these tradeware ceramics were characterized by vitrified or glass-like bodies that were more durable than local earthenware pottery. Dedicated ceramic production sites and large kilns helped the Chinese produce ceramics in large quantities and of relatively uniform quality. During earlier centuries of production and trade, minyao, or folk kilns, created a variety of distinct styles, glazes, and forms unique to a province or kiln center as privately owned craftsman kilns. Increased demand from expanded foreign trade in the 13th century, however, would lead to the rapid industrialization of kiln complexes, especially in Jingdacheng, Jiangxi province. In the late 14th to 15th centuries, the counter-piracy trade ban implemented by the Chinese court encouraged Thai and Vietnamese potters to capitalize on the growing demand from the Southeast Asian market and the rest of the world. Aside from technological superiority, A wide variety of Asian trade ceramic styles may have also made these objects appealing to different cultures. In the Philippines, tradeware ceramics functioned as vessels for community and social interactions, as well as a medium or connection to the spirits. Tradeware ceramics were ideal containers for food storage and processing over extended periods of time because of their sturdy and impermeable bodies. Large and expensive porcelain platters of food at social gatherings communicated respect for the guests they welcomed while flaunting the local elite's ability, power, and wealth to do so. Ferdinand Magellan's chronicler, Antonio Pigafetta, records such dishes at reception by the kings of Butuan and Cebu for the Europeans. These public displays of wealth during feasts illustrated the ability of local elites to provide abundantly for their own followers and further strengthened their social standing. Large stoneware jars also served a practical role in the fermentation of local liquors. According to early Spanish accounts in the Visayas, nearly all social activities were conducted with the sharing of alcoholic beverages, which were made from fermented rice, sugarcane, and coconut, to name a few. Because of the high cost of acquiring these trade ceramics, they were also important goods included in the negotiation of bride price and considered heirloom wealth among communities throughout the archipelago. As prestigious objects, they were used in rituals of offerings and sacrifices to the spirits for healing and fertility. Some jars among the Tagbanwa of Palawan were reputed to warn their owners of coming dangers. In the Cordilleras, they were thought to be gifts from the spirits and could magically move and talk on their own, and thus are also at times referred to as talking jars. Jars were also at times used in the place of coffins. The use of primary and secondary burial vessels made of carved limestone, earthenware pottery, and imported stoneware jars was practiced throughout the archipelago, even into the 16th century. Historical and ethnographic accounts describe how Visayan children were placed in small jars, called tibor, while adults were seated with their limbs folded close to the chest inside large Chinese jars. Some of the most well-known archaeological excavations of burials with ceramic assemblages in the 20th century include the excavations of Santa Ana in Manila and Calatagan on the Batangas Peninsula. In both cases, the dead were interred with a variety of smaller tradeware and pottery pieces as markers of status for a warm welcome in the afterlife. In Calatagan, trade ceramics with sun and bird motifs were placed prominently in burials as status markers and reflections of a possible cosmological belief of the locals. Tradeware ceramics were multifunctional containers of goods and meaning. Over a millennium, these vessels served practical and mundane functions, but were also used to establish and maintain social ties with both the living and the dead. By the late 20th century, these now antique objects found their way into private homes and museum collections as they continue to be tangible representations of our country's rich and wealthy past.